Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Leah if you're new, and I'm so happy to have you here. Happy 2025, guys. So today's video is going to be a end of the year book tag. This is my first time doing this. I'm so excited. I just am in the mood to tell you guys all about the books I read and things. Also, if you see me looking down, I literally have my laptop here so I can remember everything and be able to read it off. The first question is most disappointing book of the year, and I chose Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. I am so upset about that book. I'm so upset. I loved the first book, Love Redesign, and it was so good and so fun, and I just really loved it. And I'm a little disappointed, I'm a little sad that I read this book because I got 50% through and I had to DNF it. Y'all, it was so bad. It was so bad. It was irking my nerves. I just hated it. And so I had to leave her behind. Very sad. R.I.P. It was my most underrated book of the year, and I think this book was such a fun read, and I really connected with the book and the characters. The Next Best Fling by Gabriela Gomez. But you can tell this book is well loved. This was one of my favorite books of the year, but this was also just such an underrated book. This is a debut author, so I was wishing that more people talked about it, and one of my mutuals, Janelle, on Instagram, she loved this book. She loved it so much, and so of course I had to go pick it up, and this book did not disappoint. But I did not see a lot of people talking about this, just really small creators, but no big creators or anything. I wish they would talk more because this book was just so good. So highly recommend you guys read this. It was very fun, just a good time. What was the most overhyped book this year? And I would say I saw a lot of bigger creators talking about this book, and the book in question is the Ex Vows. I thought the book was good. I listened to it via audio and I did think it was good. However, I just thought it was really overhyped. I felt like people were really this book is so good, it's the best read of the year, and I just didn't feel that way, babe. I just didn't feel that way. I felt like it was good, but it could have been better. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel. And that's all I'm gonna say. So a book that surprised me this year, which is none other than, of course, my girl Not in Love by Julie Santo. This book surprised me so much. If you guys didn't know, I tried to read her other book, Forget Me Not, and I hated that book and I DNF'd it. I got a couple percentage in and I was like, no, this is gonna put me in a slump. But this book, I think I read this book within 72 hours. This book was really good, and I ate it up. I ate it up. This book really surprised me because I didn't like her other book, and so when I bought this book, I was just I'm gonna give her another shot. Maybe this one was it, and it was. And I can't wait for the next one. Very good. And what's crazier is that so many people read this book, that bigger creators that I watch, and they were it's not her best book, I didn't like it, Forget Me Not was better. And I'm just but how? So pick this up, girl. This was great, delicious, scrumdiddlyumptious, and that's on period. So the next question is my favorite book couple for the year. Rue and Eli from Not in Love, Ali Hazelwood's book. This book, I wouldn't say it's her best book in all the books she's written. It is one of my favorite books, and it was such a great storyline, and I really loved it. But they're my favorite couple. I just felt the yearning was they're so hard. But I also feel that with Not Another Love Song, I also feel they were yearning. So I definitely feel this book also gave me that. But this was such a fun book and such a deeper topics, and I don't know, I just love the character, the way that they fell in love, just how it worked for them. I think this book was very good and very fun, and they are one of my favorite couples. I would say this is probably the favorite couple. I don't think I have another couple that I'm oh, maybe Grant and Rosie from Wild Love. Maybe them, but this was really good, and I would say this is my top favorite couple. The next question is your favorite main character for the year, and I have to say it is probably Rosie Belmont from Wild Love. I would say she was one of my favorite characters because she had been through a lot, and she was just such a, I don't know, she was just such a firecracker, and someone who just, I think I saw myself in her, because this year was like a really hard year for me, and I got laid off from my job, and she lost her job, and I kind of just felt like I read this book right before I got laid off, which is crazy. But I just felt her so hard, and how she just wanted to find herself again and find what mattered to her and be surrounded by the people she loved, and like feeling that lostness. Like I loved it. This book was really good. Okay, so the next question is new favorite authors from this year. I would say it is Sarah Adams and Cara Baston. I didn't know which ones to pick, and there was just not one specific one that I loved, but they were pretty much the top one. I had never read anything from Sarah Adams. I started off the year reading When in Rome, and I really loved it. I think it was a great book to start off the year because it wasn't super spicy, and like the love story was really there, and I think I needed something that was easy to read and just like a fun little cute mushy gushy book to kind of start off the year, and that was like exactly what I got, and I loved every minute of it, and so it was really good. And then Ready or Not by Cara Baston, that story is one of my favorite books of the year. It just screamed girlhood, and I was really touched. I cried so many times during that book. You know, I was really touched by the story, and I think that she is just such a good writer, and I cannot wait. She's dropping another book this year, and I cannot wait, and I will be purchasing. I'll be purchasing Ready or Not, but I definitely will be purchasing the next book that is coming out. And yeah, it was just a great storyline. I really loved it, and she is an amazing writer, and I'm so excited to see more from her. Okay, an author that didn't work out for me this year, Ana Huong. Ana Huong. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So many people are ride or die for her. I can't do it with her books. I can't do it with her books. They're like the same people in every book. I'm like, girl, please switch it up. Do something different. Like, I don't know. It's like all the men in her books are supposed to be like tough guys, tough, you know, doing this, who's smarter than everyone. And they're actually dumb men. They're actually dumb. And so I read Twisted Lies, and then I read King of Wrath, which King of Wrath was really good and I loved it. However, I read King of Pride after that. Girl, I hated that book. I hated it so bad. I DNF'd like 4 times. I was like, girl, I'm done. I'm done. Because that book was not it, sister. Not it, sister. And so I think I just have to step away from her. I think I have to, you know, just step away for a bit and leave, because her books just don't do it for me. They don't. The next question is the happiest book you read this year, and that will most likely be When in Rome by Sarah Adams. That was hands down the happiest book I read. Like, it really was. It was pretty happy. Like, all the rest of the books, there were a little bit harder topics, but this one was pretty happy, pretty just like mushy gushy, very cute, and I really loved it, and it was fun. And I would say that was like a really good, like, little cutesy book that I read this year. Okay, and the saddest book I read this year would have to be How to End the Love Story by Ali Hazelwood. I wanna say this book is happy, but bitch, it's not. This book is very sad. I read this book, I was crying, but it just like the topic of which she was talking about was really just hard. It was hard on the soul. It was. Reading this book was hard on the soul. I think because it explores family death and anxiety and suicide and like just so many things that I just was like, bitch, this book is sad. But they had a good ending. It just, most of the book is sad. You know, just like, really, why? No, why? Pretty sad, but I did really enjoy it. It was a great book, and I love this book, but it was disturbing. Just a little bit. A little traumatic. Just a little bit. Okay, and the next question is the most frustrating book of the year. I had to put down Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher, and that's probably because I did hate that book. And I think what was so frustrating about it is that the first 50% of the book is really him like liking her, but then like just keep treating her bad. Like, I felt like when I was reading the book, I was traumatized by Raphael. Like, I felt personally attacked, because I'm like, girl, like, she is so kind to you and so nice. She's giving you chances, and yo ass just keep fucking up. Like, no, that man was unforgivable. And I was just, the entire time I read that book, I was just very frustrated. I was like, I'm gonna throw this Kindle across the room. Like, what am I reading? That's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. Very frustrating, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. The next question was the best book adaptation of the year. I didn't read any books that were getting adapted into a story, nor did I watch a movie that was from a book, or that I know of. Like, I don't think I've seen anything that was from a book or that I knew was from a book, so I had to pass on that one, but great question, girl. Hello friends, this is Editing Aaliyah, and I actually lied. At the time period that I filmed this, I don't think I remembered everything I read, but I watched Conclave, which was, I believe, a book beforehand, and that was probably the best movie I watched last year that was adapted from a book. I also watched Wicked, which, again, another great. And I think that is it. I didn't have a big movie year, but it was really, really good. So I think that is all the books or all the movies that I watched that were adapted for books. The next book was, of course, your favorite book of the year, and you know what I'm gonna say. It is The Next Best Fling. This book is my favorite book from the year. Hands down, this was one of the best books, the best books I read this year. I loved it so much. I think it's because the characters were very relatable. The storyline was a little more unique. Like, I don't think I read a book like similar to this. And this was just such a fun read. This is a plus size FMC, and I don't read like I pick up any book, but I haven't read a lot of books with a plus size FMC unless it's like a Black author, and this was just so refreshing to like really talk about it, because a lot of times you read these books and they're plus size women, but they talk so like, I'm in love with my body and everything's great, but they don't talk about like how to get there and the insecurities that we face at first. And I felt like this really tackled it so hard and like combined everything of how I felt throughout my life for so many years, and my insecurities, the way I think, the way I carry myself, shaming, things like that. Like, this book really gave it to me, and I love this book, and you can tell it's well loved, but this will be hands down my favorite book of the year, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm so excited for more to come from this author. A book I haven't stopped thinking about will probably be Team Players by Deanna Gray. I love that book. It was so good, but I think about the quote in this book from our male main character: will you let me take care of you? Let me take care of you, sweetheart. I'll put the actual quote up because it was something like that. But think about that quote so much. It was just so beautifully written. And I think about that book all the time. But that quote just plays a cycle in my head every day, bitch. Every day. Gosh, just, woo. Delicious. Just, I think about that book once a day, once a month, really. Just, no matter what situation I'm in, that book comes to mind. It does. Really good. So this one, I am kind of upset that people didn't love this book, but this is an unpopular book that you loved, and this book would be All I Want Is You by Fallon Ballard. If you are new to my channel, then go back and watch some other videos. We are Fallon Ballard stand. I have read everything this woman has written. Literally everything. I love her. She is my auto-buy author. Anytime this woman come out with a book, I'm buying it. I love her. I read her book in 2023. It's so crazy because I was like, oh, did I read last year? And I actually read her book in 2023, which is almost 2 years ago. I read this book, which is crazy. Not this book, her first book, which is My Type. That was 2 years ago, and that's crazy. But she is one of my auto-buy authors. I love her. And she, like, I don't know, she just writes very well. She's like, just everything she writes, I just get, and they're adult books. Like, not in the sense of like adult, but like they're average adult people. Like, the conversations, the way that they live their lives, I just feel so attached to the characters because they're just normal people doing normal shit and like falling in love like average normal people do, and I love that. But this book was, I'm disappointed that so many people didn't like it, but I love this book. And if you read her past books, this was just another great addition to her line of books, and I thought it was cute. It's a little novella. Like, it was so great. And so I'm kind of sad that people didn't like really hype, rave this book, but not everyone can see her, and her just, I don't know, her comedy is like something I get, and like I'm like, girl, that was funny. And like this is really good, and I loved it. And I'm kind of, I'm just like, I wish more people liked it or reviewed it. Okay, so a book that I thought I would love and I didn't. Here's the thing. There is 2 books, which will be Love Unwritten, but also Night Shift by Annie Crown. So I read this book because so many people raved about this book. Like, girl, everyone was like, she was on Wattpad and this was really great. I did not like that book, and I think it was a good, fun storyline, but it was a college age book, and I am not in college. I haven't been in college, babe, in like almost 5 years. So, it just wasn't for me. Like, it just wasn't for me. However, I think the book was good. It wasn't for me, shawty. Like, shawty, it wasn't for me. And so, I didn't love it. I didn't love it. I think if I was younger, I would love the book, and I can see why a lot of people in their early 20s love the book, because if you're still in that, like, reminiscing about college, I can see that. However, I'm an adult woman. I don't care. I don't care. And I also love Unwritten because I thought I would love it, because I loved Love Redesign. So that was also another one, but I couldn't pick between the 2, and I did want to put something like just Love Unwritten because I've been talking about it and just being a hate club for this entire video about that book. So we're gonna stop talking about her. Okay. So this is one of my favorite questions that they asked, and I got this off of, I believe, Larry Reed's video. This is the questions that she did. But the book with the most unique storyline you read this year, or story unique concept, and this would be You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggo. I loved that book. It was really good, but the concept was so funny because it's this couple that are together and they're getting married, they're engaged, and then they tried to ruin their own wedding because they didn't want to end it because the parents would be mad. So if they were just doing a bunch of crazy ass shit to get one of each other to break, because whoever break pays for all the the things that you can't get money out of and deposits, because it was like 2 months or a month before the wedding. And I really loved that story because it's like, it was funny. It was very funny, but it just started off so interesting, and I loved how the story flowed over time, and as they start to rekindle and just like things change towards the end of the book. I think it was a very lovely book. It definitely gave me Fallon Ballard kind of vibes, and I think that's why I really enjoyed it. But I had never read something like that, so I think the concept to me was just very unique and different, because normally you're just reading about people, either they don't know each other or they know each other, but it's like a frenemy situation. And I didn't read anything this year that was a book that they were already together and they were just repairing what they, their love. And so this was just really, really good, and I had fun reading it, and it was hilarious and just like silly goofy, like just being a little silly goof. Okay, so this next question I love: what is a book that you would reread that you read this year? And that would be The Next Best Fling. I feel like this book was so good, and I think I am gonna reread it this year, actually. Like, I definitely think I'm gonna reread this book, but this is so good and so fun, and I think this book would just be a lovely little reread. But also maybe Wild Love. I think Wild Love would also be a good reread, because this book was really good and I did really enjoy it. And there was, there was a quote in here, I can't find it, but there was a quote in here that I just really love quoting to people when I'm giving advice. And so this might be a really good reread before I read the next book in the series, which is, I don't know, it's like Wild something. So Wild Eyes, I think it is. Maybe. But I am very excited to reread either this one or The Next Best Fling. So this one was really good. So it is your Goodreads reflection of 2024 and your reading goal for 2025, and kind of reflecting on both. I think this year was a fun book year, but I hit my goal. Well, I reached my goal and then I went past it. So my goal was 35 books this year and I read 38, and 2023 was 25 books and I read 37. So we won up this year, and yeah, I had a great book year and it was fun, but I felt very stagnant. I got into a lot of reading slumps. I think because I have just been reading a lot of romance for the past like 2 straight years, and I think it is time for something different. And so I really enjoyed the books I read this year, but I started reading Poppy War in December, and I haven't finished that book because it's a heavy book, and so getting through it has been a little hard because it's a bit traumatizing. But it's a historical fantasy and I'm really loving it, and I eat it up. I'm 63% through it, and that book made me realize that like I need to kind of branch out into some different categories. So this year my main priority when it comes to reading is reading books in different genres. So I bought some fantasy and dark academia, so that would be the Poppy War series that I have the full complete series. I got it for Christmas from my fiance, and then I also bought Knife House because a lot of people said that they loved it, and I am going to be looking to read Hellbent after, and just getting more of some great books to kind of read and to explore. I also want to read some nonfiction books. I read one nonfiction book this year and it was good. It was like a psychology nonfiction book, and those are kind of the nonfiction books I like to read. But I just want to read something different. Definitely some scientific fantasy and some literary fiction, kind of like, I think I want to reread 1984 because I think I haven't read it since high school, and just some other classics that I would like to get physical copies of, and maybe Animal Farm. I have the physical copy of Animal Farm, but thinking about rereading that. So just like, you know, spreading, meeting out, going to different genres, and really just exploring other types of books to open my horizon, because I'm really loving Poppy War, and that kind of made me want to read other books. So yeah, okay, we're on to our last 2 questions. So first one is a book that I wish I'd gotten to this year, which would be Daydream by Hannah Grace. I actually pre-ordered the book and I have it on my Kindle. I just haven't read it, and I'm like so sad because I should have read it. And I read Icebreaker in 2022 and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I thought it was way longer than it should have been, and it was just, the girl just kept, like, what is her name, Anastasia Stassi, she just kept getting in trouble. It was to the point where I was like, girl, save yourself, like, stop. And it was just like something else. Then I read Wildfire, and I listened to Wildfire via audiobook, and I really liked that book. I don't think it was like great, but I think it was better than Icebreaker, and so many people liked Daydream, so I was like, let me pre-order this book and read it since I've read the other 2, and I haven't read it yet, and I wish I did because I just heard how great it was. What will I prioritize for my 2025 reading goal? And that is reading off my physical TBR, babe. No. Because why do I have 10 books up there I haven't read? I think it's more than that. Like, girl, get it together. So I want to get through my physical TBR, and I'm probably going to challenge myself within the next few months to do that. But this is my wedding year, so I don't know. But I'm really hoping to just read all through my physical TBR for 2 reasons. 1, so I can buy more books, obviously, and create a little shrine. But 2, because I need to read the books that are on my shelf. Like, they've been, some books I have on there that I've had since 2022, 2023. Like, that's crazy. And so I need to read those books. But that is like something I really want to get better at, is reading what is on my physical TBR, and also what's on my Kindle, because I have a ton of books on my Kindle. So like getting through those books before I pick up another book or buy another book or whatever. So that's a kind of like what I want to prioritize. All right, friends, this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I had so much fun reading this year and just exploring some really fun and new authors and finding some great reads, and I'm so excited to be back on posting on this channel consistently. I've been consistently posting the last few months, and I'm very proud of myself. So you guys will see more content from me this year, hoping some more book content, reading vlogs, and regular vlogs, because I love those and you guys seem to like them too. So I think that is it, but happy 2025, happy new year. I hope you guys had a great new year day, and I will see you soon. Bye.